Hey there YouTube, Ruckman with Crew3 here back for another Pioneer deck tech, and to finish off our little series of budget deck lists. If you enjoyed all these, I'd be happy to do another little budget run like this in the future, except maybe we'll up to $100 next time. Anyway, if you thought we got a lot of value in the Knights deck, just wait till you see this one as we take a look at Gruul Aggro. Getting things started, we have 8 1-drops, and since we're mostly base green, they are of course Elvish, Mystic, and Llanowar Elves. Our deck is a pile of 2-drops to curve out with, but my ideal start is Elf into 3-drop into double spell turn 3, just to keep the pressure on our opponents. Plus, I think by now everyone understands their staple status, and I'm always happy to play them. Speaking of that pile of 2-drops, we start with another Pioneer staple in Burning Emissary. While we don't get to play any Nykthos shenanigans, I made sure that all of our subsequent 2-drops can be played off its ability, so hopefully we always have a follow-up to that Hybrid Mana 2/2. Next, we have 4 copies of Voltaic Brawler. This 3/2 for 2 is secretly a 4/3 trampler thanks to its ability. And, since energy hangs around until we use it, any leftover energy from early Brawler can just feed the next one. Our penultimate 2-drop is 3 copies of Glee of the Endless Dance. One of my favorite cards in Pioneer, Glee is an aggressive card engine to say the least. She might not shine as much as she can in more non-budget builds including cards like Embercleaver or Target's Command, but getting rid of some junk in our hand for 2 new cards is always a good thing in my opinion. Lastly, we have 1 mainboard copy of Scavenging Ooze. Scooze allows us to dump our mana late game and have a small amount of graveyard interaction with tacked on life gain mainboard, which is never something to scoff at. For our 3-drops, I packed in more card advantage and 4 copies of Garruk's Harbinger. It might not hit as hard as some of the other options we had for this slot, but when it does hit, the chance to add an extra creature to our hand is as good as we can get to keep our board growing. Plus, I don't know about you, but I think Hexproof and Black is pretty relevant in Pioneer to say the least. Our second 3-drop is 4 copies of Kaldheim All-Star Old Growth Troll. Have you read this thing? It's insane! This color-intensive 4/4 Trampler gives us some game after a big Wrath spell by giving us some extra mana until ready to cash in for the token. Out of all the cards that didn't make our Kaldheim top 10, I think the Troll is making it the most compelling argument to be included in any revision we could make. Finally, our last creature, but also a bridge into our spells, is 2 copies of Gorklan Rampager. What can I say? A 4/4 Trampler for 4 is pretty good, but blowing out your opponents with the Blood Rush ability is icing on the cake. If you miss this guy in his standard environment, you're in for some fun here. For spells, we have 4 copies of Wild Slash to clear out any pesky blockers or deal some direct damage to our opponent's face. And, although it's not usually the most relevant ability, our deck can easily turn on Ferocious. Our other non-creature we get to play is 3 copies of Domri, Anarch of Bolas. That's right, we get to run a Planeswalker, and a darn good one at that. His static ability anthems our board, +1s to give us some mana, and make our creatures accountable for the turn, regardless if they use that mana produced or not, and -2s to have one of our creatures get rowdy in a fight. I also really wanted to include a few copies of Worthless Spark Kiora in this deck list, but I think she's better suited for a deck with a slightly larger budget that can better incorporate cards like Glorybringer and the other mid-range threats. On to the lands. We start off with the Always Great Pathway cycle and 4 Crag Crown Pathway. Then, we have 4 copies of Game Trail, bringing us to 8 total dual lands. Game Trail obviously isn't the best, but Rootbound Crag was just out of our budget and they both enter untapped at about the same rate. I will say though, I still probably favor Rootbound Crag over Game Trail if you wanted to up the budget slightly, as it gives our opponents less information about our hand. Finishing off our 23 lands are 9 forests and 6 mountains. For the sideboard, we have 3 Magma Spray for other low curve aggressive decks, especially mono black, 3 copies of Snakeskin Veil for our spot removal protection, 3 copies of Reclamation Sage to get rid of any annoying artifacts or enchantments, 2 copies of Domri's Ambush to help fight off mid-range threats, 2 additional copies of Scavenging Ooze for matchups where we want a few more, and finally, 2 copies of Vivien Champion of the Wilds for more card advantage in grindier matchups. I have to say, I was really impressed by our other 2 budget deck lists, but this one seriously blows me away. For only $47.75, we're able to pick up quite a few Pioneer staples, and be well on our way to building one of any of the several Gruul variants that are constantly 5-0ing MTGO leagues, making this deck a perfect one to end this run of budget deck lists on. As always, this has been Ruckman with Crew3. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to keep up with our weekly deck techs. For more Pioneer content, you can find Crew3 A Pioneer Podcast on all major podcasting platforms, or you can join us over on twitch.tv/Crew3MTG, where I stream several nights a week. If you'd like to see your name added to this wonderful list at the end of all of our videos, head on over to patreon.com/Crew3MTG to support the podcast and this channel. Talk to y'all next week. Bye!